Okay, this is Bill Maher's podcast Club Random. He had Katie Couric on today, and they were chatting, and then they started talking about Woody Allen.
He's
Here we
88.
go.
He just had a movie come out. I was just reading about this. It was sort of a whole piece on, can you love the art if you don't respect the artist type thing? You know, Picasso, Woody Allen.
I respect the artist and the man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he committed that crime, that there was 2 police investigations that exonerated him. I mean, like, what do you have to do in this country? All these actors who won't work with him anymore, some of them made movies with him, and I regret doing that. What a bunch of
Yikes.
Okay? First of all, it's a very improbable crime that they're accusing him of. Plainly, the other party had motivation and was vindictive. If you saw the documentary about it, it was all from her point of view. I believe a 57-year-old man didn't suddenly become a child molester in the middle of a divorce proceeding.
Oh my God. The territory that he has just gotten them into is not one that Katie Couric wants to be in, and I'll keep playing because she does very lightly push back on him, and his whole belief here, what he's stating as fact, where he's like, this is improbable.
In a custody battle in a house full of adults in broad daylight.
Listen, I don't know.
We don't know. I don't either.
I don't know.
I definitely don't know.
Okay, you're saying you don't know Bill Maher, but you just said things that made it seem as if you are very sure that Woody Allen is not a predator.
He had a relationship with a high school student. Do you remember? I mean, did you watch the documentary?
Yes, I don't remember that.
Okay. So when Katie first starts to point out that there were things in the documentary that were very damning, that speak to Woody Allen being a predator outside of just testimony from Mia and from Dylan, and Bill's like, yeah, I didn't see any of that. Christine Engelhardt is the woman who she's referring to, and in the documentary, Christine Engelhardt alleges that when she was 16 years old, she was in a relationship with Woody Allen, who was 40-something at the time. And this was before Soon-Yi Previn. Bill looks so foolish here because he goes, I didn't see anything else damning outside of their testimony, which is obviously biased, but then says he doesn't remember this part.
High school student, and there was a woman.
High school student?
Yeah.
When he was old?
Yeah.
Yes, because your friend Woody Allen, whose hill you are dying on right now, is a predator. Bill, I don't think you watched this documentary. Or if you did, you only remembered the parts that were Mia Farrow and Dylan Farrow talking about Woody Allen's abuse. And there are instances outside of Dylan Farrow where he demonstrated that he is a predator.
Not Soon-Yi.
No.
Oh.
Right here, he still doesn't know what she's talking about because he's like, wait, are you talking about Soon-Yi? Which, Bill, isn't that interesting? You're defending Woody Allen on the grounds of he didn't abuse Dylan Farrow, but you mentioned Soon-Yi. Now, chat, for those of you who need a reminder, Soon-Yi Previn, who is Woody Allen's wife, once upon a time was Mia Farrow's adopted daughter. She first met Woody Allen when she was 10 years old. Woody and Mia did not adopt Soon-Yi together, but Woody was in Soon-Yi's life, starting from when she was 10 years old. And Mia Farrow alleges that Woody Allen groomed Soon-Yi when she was in high school, and then they started having an affair when Mia and Woody were still together, starting when Woody claims they didn't have sex until Soon-Yi was 21. Woody Allen at the time was 56 years old. He was a father figure. And Mia Farrow found nude photos of Soon-Yi in Woody Allen's apartment. But interesting to note that Bill Maher, when Katie Couric is talking about a teenager that Woody Allen was in a relationship with, a high schooler, and he goes, wait, not Soon-Yi. And she's like, no, a different one.
And wanting his girlfriend to dress up in little anklets and Mary Janes and baby doll dresses.
You think he's the only guy who likes that?
Okay, that's a self-report. So, another disturbing claim about Woody Allen, and this has been made by multiple people who knew him, not just Mia Farrow. This has been alleged by Christine Engelhardt, people who knew Woody Allen, is that he liked for his girlfriends to dress up like little girls. Okay. Bill Maher isn't denying that. He's saying, what, you think he's the only man who likes that? I think that any grown man who wants his girlfriend, who is significantly younger than him, to dress even younger than her age, to dress up like a literal little girl, is incredibly creepy. Is incredibly suspect. Bill Maher, that is incredibly gross that you think that that's okay. Somebody needs to investigate Bill Maher, because if he's sitting there casually being like, what, you think he's the only guy who likes that? There's probably some shit going on there.
Leaf through an issue of Penthouse magazine. That's what we grew up on. We find it sexy.
Who's we?
Peacocks have plumage. We do things to arouse the opposite sex.
Who's this we?
And that doesn't make you a pervert.
Okay. I loved this movie when I was younger, and as I got older, and this was also just as I kind of had a reckoning with a lot of Woody Allen's work, but as I got older and then all the Woody Allen stuff came out and a lot of people were looking back on his work, this is a movie about a 40-something-year-old, like a middle-aged, twice divorced man who starts dating a high schooler. And it is total male fantasy. Mariel Hemingway, who plays 17-year-old Tracy in the film. So I understand this is fiction. This is a movie, but you just have to put this all together. It's so on the nose. And he cast himself in the lead. And he starts dating this high schooler who he knows is wrong for him because his wife leaves him for a woman. And so he's having a midlife crisis. But yes, this is an example of fiction, but you look at Woody's real life and he actually dated a girl who was in high school, Christine Engelhardt, not to mention his relationship with Soon-Yi Previn and then the allegations by Dylan Farrow. Let's just revisit a couple facts from the Woody Allen sexual abuse allegation. Dylan Farrow first made these claims of sexual abuse in 1992 when she was 7 years old. And then she made them again in 2014 when she was 28 years old. And then the documentary about Woody Allen came out, during the pandemic, I think it was 2020 or 2021. Here's a list of undeniable facts. 1, Mia never went to the police about the allegation of sexual abuse. Her lawyer told her on August 5th, 1992, to take the 7-year-old Dylan to a pediatrician who was bound by law to report Dylan's story of sexual violation to law enforcement and did so on August 6th. There's a recording here that played during the documentary.
One of you said you will not let me get it.
You have to. What you've done to Soon-Yi, what you've done to Dylan.
So this is allegedly a phone call between Mia Farrow and Woody Allen.
What you've done to Dylan. Dylan's a baby. How could you do that to her? I don't know anything of the kind. I know what Dylan tells me. You've told me nothing but lies. Dylan tells the truth inconsistently. No, I don't know that, Woody. I've always been worried about you and Dylan. And I didn't know the doctor had to report this to the authorities. I went just to be sure she was all right. And she's not all right, Woody. She walks around the house holding her vagina.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah,
She sleeps with me. And I feel pretty guilty myself that I wasn't there to protect her. She said, Mommy, you didn't help me. You shouldn't have hurt me like that.
Number 2, Woody Allen had been in therapy for alleged inappropriate behavior towards Dylan with a child psychologist before the abuse allegation was presented to the authorities or made public. Mia Farrow had instructed her babysitters that Allen was never to be left alone with Dylan. This is coming from multiple sources who attested to this type of behavior, that this is what was going on here, where they were told by Mia that Dylan and Woody could never be left alone together. Allen refused to take a polygraph administered by the Connecticut State Police. Instead, he took one from someone hired by his legal team. The Connecticut State Police refused to accept the test as evidence. The state attorney, Frank Mako, says that Mia was never asked to take a lie detector test during the investigation. Allen subsequently lost 4 exhaustive court battles, a lawsuit, a disciplinary charge against the prosecutors, and 2 appeals, and had to pay more than $1 million in Mia Farrow's legal fees. Judge Elliot Wilk, the presiding judge in Allen's custody suit against Farrow, concluded that there is, quote, no credible evidence to support Mr. Allen's contention that Miss Farrow coached Dylan or that Miss Farrow acted upon a desire for revenge against him for seducing Soon-Yi. So Woody Allen and his team put forward the argument that after Mia Farrow discovered his affair with her daughter Soon-Yi, she coached Dylan into claiming that Woody Allen had sexually abused her, because the timeline is that the affair with Soon-Yi is discovered, and then Dylan tells the pediatrician that she has been sexually violated by Woody Allen. And then the pediatrician reports that to the police. So the judge in the custody suit concluded that there was no evidence supporting that this was vindictive. Number 5, in his 33-page decision, Judge Wilk found that Mr. Allen's behavior towards Dylan was grossly inappropriate and that measures must be taken to protect her. The judge also recounts Farrow's misgivings regarding Allen's behavior towards Dylan from the time she was between 2 and 3 years old. According to the judge's decision, Farrow told Allen, quote, "You look at her, Dylan, in a sexual way. You fondled her. You don't give her any breathing room. You look at her when she's naked." Number 6, Dylan's claim of abuse was consistent with the testimony of 3 adults who were present that day. On the day of the alleged assault, a babysitter of a friend told police and gave sworn testimony that Allen and Dylan went missing for 15 or 20 minutes while she was at the house. Another babysitter told police and also swore in court that on the same day, she saw Allen with his head on Dylan's lap facing her body while Dylan sat on a couch staring vacantly in the direction of a television set. A French tutor for the family told police and testified that that day she found Dylan was not wearing underpants under her sundress. The first babysitter also testified that she did not tell Farrow that Allen and Dylan had gone missing until after Dylan made her statements. These sworn accounts contradict Moses Farrow's recollection of that day in People magazine. So, the team Woody Allen used Moses Farrow, who claims also that he's on Woody's side and that his mom, Moses and Dylan are both adopted. And Moses has always been on Woody Allen's side and said that Mia Farrow coerced Dylan into saying those things against Woody Allen. But the testimony of 3 different adults who were present that day contradicted Moses Farrow's recollection that all came out in court. Number 7, the Yale New Haven Hospital Child Sex Abuse Clinic's finding that Dylan had not been sexually molested, cited repeatedly by Allen's attorneys, was not accepted as reliable by Judge Wilk or by the Connecticut state prosecutor who originally commissioned them. The state prosecutor, Frank Mako, engaged the Yale New Haven team to determine whether Dylan would be able to perceive facts correctly and be able to repeat her story on the witness stand. The panel consisted of 2 social workers and a pediatrician, Dr. John Leventhal, who signed off on the report but who never saw Dylan or Mia Farrow. No psychologists or psychiatrists were on the panel. The social workers never testified. The hospital team only presented a sworn deposition by Dr. Leventhal, who did not examine Dylan. All the notes from the report were destroyed. Her confidentiality was then violated, and Allen held a news conference on the steps of Yale University to announce the results of the case. The report concluded that Dylan had trouble distinguishing fantasy from reality. For example, she had told them that there were dead heads in the attic and called sunset the magic hour. In fact, Mia kept wigs from her movies on styrofoam blocks in a trunk in the attic. The doctors subsequently backed down from his contention. The Connecticut State Police, the state attorney, and Judge Wilk all had serious reservations about the report's reliability. Number 8, Allen changed his story about the attic where the abuse allegedly took place. First, Allen told investigators he had never been in the attic where the alleged abuse took place. After his hair was found on a painting in the attic, he admitted that he might have stuck his head in once or twice. Number 9, the state attorney Mako said publicly he did have probable cause to press charges against Allen, but declined due to the fragility of the child victim. Okay, let's watch this interview.
Dylan Farrow is speaking for the very first time on TV about her sexual assault allegations against her adoptive father, actor and director Woody Allen. We spoke with Farrow at her Connecticut home on Monday, where she went into detail about what allegedly happened one August morning.
I want to show my face and tell my story. I want to speak out, literally.
Dylan Farrow is 32 and has been married for almost 8 years. She's a mother of a 16-month-old girl, and she's still carrying the emotional scars she says she got at the hands of her father.
I loved my father. I respected him. And that doesn't obviously take away from what he did, but it does make the betrayal and the hurt that much more intense.
Just a reminder, because the Farrow family is a little bit confusing. Mia Farrow adopted Soon-Yi Previn with her partner before Woody Allen. And then Mia and Woody were together when they adopted Dylan and Moses. And then, supposedly, they had Ronan Farrow.
If you could tell us what happened that day.
I was taken to a small attic crawl space by my father. He instructed me to lay down on my stomach and play with my brother's toy train that was set up. And He sat behind me in the doorway, and as I played with the toy train, I was sexually assaulted.
Tense.
Where was your mother?
She went shopping that day.
Mia Farrow took Dylan to the pediatrician, but when the doctor asked her where she had been touched, the little girl pointed to her shoulder.
She said, "Why didn't you tell the doctor what you told me?" And I told her that I was embarrassed. And then we went back in.
You went back in and then you told him
And I told the doctor.
the same thing that you had told your mother.
Yes.
I wanted to play a clip from 60 Minutes. Are you okay with looking at it?
Yes, Woody likes to claim he's not her stepfather, despite by all technicalities he is.
At the height of a very bitter, acrimonious custody fight, drive up to Connecticut where nobody likes me in the house. I'm with a house full of enemies. I mean, Mia was so enraged at me, and she had gotten all the kids to be angry at me, that I'm going to drive up there and suddenly, on visitation, pick this moment in my life to become a child molester.
That is so wild. That's like Bill Maher saying, what, you think he's the only guy who wants his girlfriends to dress up in little girl clothes? Like, come on, that's normal. That is a insane thing to say.
Allen had adopted Dylan and her 13-year-old brother Moses the previous December. The couple also had a younger son, Ronan. But as Mia Farrow's boyfriend, Allen had been a part of Dylan's life since she was a baby.
I'm going to armchair psychologist here for a second. I want to be very clear that I do not have professional license. It seems to me that maybe Woody Allen doesn't look at children who are adopted in the same way that he would if they were blood related. So that, like, to him, the fact that he's not blood related to his children, any of them, and that includes Ronan Farrow, means it doesn't count. Do you know what I mean by that? It's fair game. I need to go back real quickly.
There was 2 police investigations that exonerated him. I mean, like, what do you have to...
Okay, what he's saying there is false. He is saying it is bullshit that Woody Allen has been quote unquote canceled, and that all these actors who won't work with him anymore, who say they regret working with him, are because he was exonerated. That's Bill Maher's words. He's saying that Woody Allen was exonerated. And we need to be specific here. Woody Allen was not exonerated. He was not prosecuted because even though the state attorney said there was probable cause to prosecute him, they decided Dylan was too fragile to go to trial. And Mia Farrow agreed with the decision. Woody Allen, however, lost the custody case because of all the allegations. And in the custody case, the judge said the allegation of sexual abuse had not been proven, but he still lost the case. So, really important to understand the difference here. This was not exoneration.
Wish that they
That's
would
what she
have gone
says here.
ahead and filed the charges, because then you would have to have taken the stand.
You know, honestly, yes. I do wish that they had. I was already traumatized. I mean, outside of a court of law, we do know what happened. I just told you.
All right, so then I just want to take a look at some of Ronan Farrow's piece from 2016. When my sister first decided to speak out, she had gone to multiple newspapers. Most wouldn't touch her story. An editor at the LA Times sought to publish her letter with an accompanying, deeply fact-checked timeline events, but his bosses killed it before it ran. The editor called me distraught since I'd written for them in the past. There were too many relationships at stake. It was too hot for them. When the New York Times ultimately ran my sister's story in 2014, it gave her 936 words online, embedded in an article with careful caveats. Nicholas Kristof, the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter and advocate for victims of sexual abuse, put it on his blog. Soon afterward, the Times gave her alleged attacker twice the space and prime position in the print edition with no caveats or surrounding context. So this idea that, like, Dylan Farrow just easily was able to go about making her accusations against Woody Allen was not true. That's never the case. It's never the case that it is easy for a woman to make accusations of abuse against a powerful man. Ronan says, perhaps I succumbed to that pressure myself. I had worked hard to distance myself from my painfully public family history and wanted my work to stand on its own. So I had avoided commenting on my sister's allegations for years. My sister's decision to step forward came shortly after I began work on a book and a television series. It was the last association I wanted. Initially, I begged my sister not to go public again and to avoid speaking to reporters about it. I'm ashamed of that too. Even now, I hesitated before agreeing to the Hollywood Reporter's invitation to write this piece, knowing it could trigger another round of character assassination against my sister, my mother, or me. But when Dylan explained her agony in the wake of powerful voices sweeping aside her allegations, the press often willing to be taken along for the ride, and the fears that she held for young girls potentially being exposed to a predator, I ultimately knew she was right. I began to speak about her more openly, particularly on social media, and I began to look carefully at my own decisions in covering sexual assault stories. I believe my sister. This was always true as a brother who trusted her, and even at 5 years old, was troubled by our father's strange behavior around her, climbing into her bed in the middle of the night, forcing her to suck his thumb, behavior that had prompted him to enter into therapy focused on his inappropriate conduct with children prior to the allegations. There are people like Bill Maher who will say that if there is no cold hard proof, then it didn't happen. If there is not a trial, then it didn't happen. But the reality is, even for sexual abuse and sexual assault trials that do happen, getting a conviction is so rare. Here's exactly what charges not being pursued looked like in my sister's case in 1993. The prosecutor met with my mother and sister. Dylan already was deeply traumatized by the assault and the subsequent legal battle that forced her to repeat the story over and over again, and she did tell her story repeatedly without inconsistency, despite the emotional toll it took on her. The longer that battle, the more grotesque the media circus surrounding my family grew. My mother and the prosecutor decided not to subject my sister to more years of mayhem. In a rare step, the prosecutor announced publicly that he had probable cause to prosecute Allen and attributed the decision not to do so to the fragility of the child victim. My mother still feels it was the only choice she could make to protect her daughter. Like most people who, even if you don't have a profound understanding of the legal system, know that it is really hard for rape victims to get justice. One, because a lot of rape victims still don't report their rapes because of how hard it is for them to get any justice. So many instances of rape don't go to trial. Since 2016 to 2017, the number of rapes reported increased by 67% from 42,000 to 70,000. In 2021 to 2022, only 3.2% of those were prosecuted. For those prosecuted, the conviction rate in 2022 was 62%. But the broad indication is that during 2021 to 2022, of the 70,000 rapes reported to police, only 1,378 led to a conviction. That's a conviction rate of less than 2%. However those outcomes are viewed, whether in light of short-term targets or recent trends, a 2% conviction rate is an absurd, abject failure. So of all the rapes that are reported, less than 2% lead to a conviction, and that's because a lot of rapes are not prosecuted. So now you have guys like Bill Maher. He strikes me as a guy who believes that men are victims here, yelling at Gen Z, thinking that Gen Z has gone too puritanical. Now it's a detriment to society, and now it is causing problems for any powerful man because he can just be accused and have millions of teenagers in Gen Z take that at face value and then lose everything that he's worked for. I think somebody should look into Bill Maher, is what I will say. Let's go, Gen Zers.